So the weather outside today isn't much better. We've got high winds. It's gone really cold outside and more snow. Yeah, there's no break in the weather, that's for sure. Yeah, there's a look at the benches and you can see they're just piled high with snow. We were going to head to the Toronto Auto Show tomorrow, but it all depends on the weather. We can always go the next week. The show's on for 2 weeks, so if it's looking kind of stormy, which it is now, we may delay that trip. Yeah, the shed roof was cleared off and it's full of snow again. The birdhouse over here, it's even piled higher now. There's the birdhouse now. Yeah, that's got a lot of snow on it. Yeah, so quite a winter wonderland out here. The sun is kind of poking out a bit today, but not much. It is cold and windy. Let's go have a look at the street, see what that's looking like. So they did plow the road last night, and it took me 3 hours this morning to do the driveway. It was just full of snow. You can see the Fiat here, which was totally cleaned off a couple of days ago. It's just buried. Yeah, so the driveway's nice and clean. People are running out of room where to put snow. It's just piled up high everywhere. Yeah, lots and lots of snow. I've been breaking off these icicles here on the plant room and melting it for rainwater because I'm really short of water because we've had no thaws. It's just been cold temperatures all winter with only one real thaw, and that was about it. Let's head into the greenhouse now. Way down here. Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. It is a cold and windy winter day here. Minus 17 degrees Celsius tonight, which is pretty cold. I have pretty well caught up on all the winter pruning of all my trees. The only trees I have left are these ones I grew from seed, these Thuja occidentalis. These were part of my elephant penjing, and I'm going to prune these up today, and that will be about it for the winter pruning. So let's get to work on these little trees. Here is a look at the little Eastern White Cedars. These were all grown from seeds, and they're doing quite nicely. So today I'm just going to prune them up into a conical form, get them ready for growing in spring. I'm going to begin by weeding the pot. There's a lot of weeds in the forest floor. There's a lot of pine needles that have fallen down, so I'll start there and then I'll get to the pruning. These trees are just young seedlings, but you'll find with regular pruning on them that they will grow into really nice mature trees in the future, maybe 5-10 years down the road. So it's really important to kind of keep the growth under control as they develop. Don't be in a hurry to just let them grow and not do any pruning on them. It's a good idea to kind of grow them slowly and carefully into mature trees. I've got my tweezers out and I'll begin weeding the trees. You'll find with little seedlings like this that it's easy to neglect them. They're kind of the last trees on your bench that get care. But it's important to take care of them just like your larger trees because, as I said, they do grow up into nice mature trees. It just takes time, and bonsai is a hobby about time and patience. And the more work you do to them while they're young, the better quality tree you'll get when they do mature. So I'm not sure how old these seedlings are. I think they're maybe 3-4 years old. Originally, I had planted more of these seedlings in this pot, but some of them didn't make it. I did a pretty good root pruning on all the trees. And, your root base is just as important as growing the top of your tree. So I root prune them to get them underway as bonsai, getting a nice radial root system on the trees. And there are a few that didn't make it. They just kind of dried up. But most of them survived. I would say 80% of them survived. And some of them, I mean, you get trees that you grow from seed, and some have quite nice root bases, and others are, you know, just not so good, one-sided or one big tap root, no fine roots growing off them. But, you know, it kind of weeds out the good trees from the bad trees, and, you know, all the ones that survive, I know, have a pretty good root base now, and the ones that didn't make it, well, they just weren't meant to be, I guess. So I'll finish up the weeding and cleaning up the soil surface, and we'll come back and have a look at the trees. I have got all the weeds out of the pot. There were a lot in there, more than I expected. So there's the pile of weeds. So here is a look at the trees now, so you can kind of see them a little easier. So my next step, some of the trees I think could use a little more soil around the base of them. That one's a little unstable. Yeah, so I'm going to take some of the soil from the front of the planting here and just kind of pile it up a little higher around some of these trees, just to make sure those roots are in the soil nicely. When I was pulling out the weeds, it took some of the soil out too, so yeah, so I'll do that, and then we'll come back and have a look at the trees and prune them up. I find that these little trees are really useful when you create a forest, that you have your main trees in the foreground, and then these little trees become background trees. Provides a nice variety of size. It gives the planting depth, and yeah, so they're really useful. So never discount these little seedlings. They're important if you're creating forests. I've got the soil kind of piled up around the base of the trees now, so I'll give it a water just to kind of bed everything in. Make sure it's well watered. And these trees are in their winter color. You can see the color of them. They're kind of a olive green to a tan color. And you'll find in spring that suddenly, when the weather warms up, they all turn a nice green color. It's kind of a nice time of the year when everything comes back to life. I'm going to begin the pruning now. The natural form of these Eastern White Cedars is kind of a rounded conical form. They don't get a real pointy apex to them. It's kind of, yeah, more a smooth rounded form. So I've got to determine my leader on this tree, and I think this is the most upright shoot. So I'm going to prune these other ones back as branches. So I'll take this one off here. And this one, I'm going to remove this upright growth and prune this off to here. And then I'll shorten everything. And these trees are apically dominant, so you can do heavier pruning in the apex, and as you go down the tree you do less pruning because the vigor is all up top in the tree. So you can see here's my leader. This one's a bit high here. And then I can pinch my leader, just pinching that new growth back to keep it compact, like that. And this growth I can pinch back, again keeping it more compact. And that's about all I can do in the leader for now. So I'll start to go down the tree. So here's a branch that's growing a funny direction. It's not radial, so I'll take that off totally, keeping my more radial part of the branch. Pruning these branches back. So this one is a good, nice horizontal branch, and then I have another one that's kind of shooting upwards, which is all right. I'll just prune it back. And this one I can prune back, way back to here, shortening that quite a bit, keeping my rounded conical form. This one I can prune back. And a lot of this you can prune from above, so you can see the branch structure a little more easily. So let's kind of get an angle higher up. There's a view looking more down on the tree. So I'm just checking out each branch one at a time, pruning it up, keeping the branches radial, compact, and eliminating anything that's kind of growing a strange direction. Keeping the branches in check. That one's pretty good. This one could use a little tip pruning. Tip pruning. A bit of dieback on this one. I'll just take the dead bit off. So here's one growing straight up I can take out. This one's growing straight up here. I'll prune off the vertical part. And I think I'll take the whole thing off. It's growing a strange direction, straight up. There's a branch kind of growing back. Here's the radial direction of this branch, and it's growing 90 degrees to the radial direction, so I'll take it out. Just keep your best branches, prune away the ones that aren't so good. And eventually you'll get a really nice structure to the tree. That's got the basic conical shape in check. So next I just need to do some more pinching to kind of refine the profile of the tree. So I'll just come in and just pinch all these long kind of loose tips back. And every time you prune one of these tips, the branch divides, it subdivides, so you get more branching. More branches to choose from when you go to prune it next, and the tree gets better and better. Yeah, it'll be nice putting these in a forest someday. There's a branch I missed in here that's growing a funny direction. Take that right out. I've got the one tree pruned up quite nicely, so I'll use the same techniques in all the other trees, and then we'll come back and see how it's looking. This one tree here has a lot of dieback. It just barely survived the repotting operation. It suffered a lot, and then it started growing again, so I'm glad that it made it. But there's a lot of dead branches down low here that didn't make it. So I'll just prune those away. It's nice in the greenhouse here. The wind is howling away outside. It's cold and windy outside, and in the greenhouse here it's quite pleasant because the sun's out. Yeah, it feels good in here. Nice to get away from the winter weather for a little bit. Here is a look at what I pruned off the trees today. So, you know, a fair amount for the small trees. There's a look at the trees from above. And here's the look at the trees from the front here. So you can see they're all kind of in that rounded conical form. Some of the weaker trees, I didn't do a lot of pruning on them. They're a little weak. So after a summer growing, they should strengthen up quite nicely. Yeah, so they're perfect little trees to grow as a forest or to develop into single trees. Since I've been working on the trees, the weather outside has turned quite nasty now. It's snowing fairly hard. Yeah, it's a real wintry day out here. Good day to stay inside and edit the video. It's nice to see my little seedlings pruned up, ready to grow for the next summer. They're looking more like miniature trees now rather than just kind of neglected seedlings growing in a pot. So I was happy to get that work done. So that is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.